Professor Black Ops, you see it. Let's get it. AWS keys and access IDs and codes are getting hacked. Super quick article. Let's go through it. Hacker says hijacking libraries and stealing AWS keys was ethical research. Yesterday, developers took notice of two hugely popular Python and PHP libraries, respectively CTX and PHPass, has been hijacked as a first reported by BleepingComputers. Both of these legitimate open source projects has been altered to steal developers' AWS credentials. Once again, you got to be on the lookout for that, right? We know the keys, SSH keys, um, the access IDs, and a lot of developers just leave those laying around on their laptop, and like you said, you can just create an app and just suck them off their laptop. So consider CTX and PHPass has together garnered 3 million downloads over their lifetime. The incident sparked much panic and discussion among developers, not worried about the impact of hijacked on their overall software supply chain. Right, but we all know AWS best practices really getting away for those type of keys and going to assuming roles, right? Going through role security. EC2, just have it assume the role, or Lambda, just have it assume the role, right? That's the next step in cybersecurity. And, we're going to do some videos, right? That's advanced security. Um, and using also the system manager, right? So you don't have to have a server or anything. You can just use that. You don't have to actually open up any ports, right? Because you're actually on AWS's backbone. So I think as an industry, that's the next step and where everybody needs to be going to. The hackers behind the hijack has now broken silence, displaying the reason. According to the hacker, it was rather security research. This was a huge bug bounty exercise, and no malicious activity was intended. All right, if you steal my keys on my server, that's malicious activity. I don't care if you're doing it for research, right? Now you a threat. Now you a hacker. Now you're a nation state adversary, right? That's how I look at it. But the POC package stole AWS secrets, keys to show the maximum impact. Today, the hack of the widely used CTX and PHPass software projects has explained the rationale behind the hijack. This was a proof of concept POC bug bounty exercise with no malicious activity intended. In fact, the hijack of these libraries is an Istanbul based security researcher, aka Sock Puppet, who has attested to the fact when it was approached by Bleeping Computers. Once again, I think red team guys, I think just sometimes overstep the boundaries of stuff, right? You can say it's a security project, but you're putting a lot of people on angst. You put a lot of projects in jeopardy, right? Somebody could be hacking you while you hacking them, right? As a research project. So I think we got to be really careful on that. His claim is rationale for stealing AWS tokens was to demonstrate maximum impact. We talked about that claims widely used on Python library CTX, been compromised, first originated on Reddit. When a user noticed a library which has not been updated in 8 years, suddenly had a new version. Another ethical hacker, Someday Swan, later noticed that one of the forks in the PHP framework, PHPass, has also been altered to steal AWS secret keys in a similar fashion via the same endpoint. Right. So the beauty is you got a lot of people looking at it when it's open source. You got a lot of people in the environment and really in the community that's taking that stuff very serious. So it shows you the code right there, fget dollar secret. So, but once again, hopefully we're getting away from using environment variables and getting used to getting back to assuming roles, right? Bleeping Computers noticed that when they altered the CTX version, the name of the author has been revised to that guy, unknown as Aiden, as opposed to the library original maintainer, Robert Ledger. But Ledger's email address has been left intact. So he changed the author, but he left the other guy's email, which kind of looks suspicious, right? Shout out to the community. Some researchers also know that the Herbert web page set up by the hijackers was leaking contact information, but refrained from naming the hijacker until more information was came to light. Uh, so he talks about compromised package has been reported. Attacker identity is OB, but it would be irresponsible to take names without undeniable proof. This is my favorite. Dubious ethical research. I think that's, for me, that's the biggest claim in this article. While Hayden claims that this was all ethical research, victims of the activities would see it anything but that. Most POCs and bug bounty exercise targeting open source libraries use simplistic code such as printing your hack on a target system or else exfiltrating the basic fingerprint information such as the user IP, address, home, and working directives. The information can later be used by the researcher to prove that they successfully penetrated a system and earn a bug bounty reward for their ethical research and responsible disclosure. So I think the last part is key, responsible disclosure. But in the case of CTX and PHPass, the hijacker version did not stop at basic PLC. They stole the developer's environment variables, AWS credentials, casting doubts on the intention of the hacker, or even if this was ethical research. Stealing secret stored environment variables such as password and API keys could very well cross the line. It crossed the line for me not very well, especially when hijacking popular libraries such as CTX and PHPass that have been downloaded millions of times. I sent the report to HackerOne to show the maximum impact. He said, all these researchers do not contain any malicious activity. I want to show how this simple attack affects 10 million users and companies. All the data that I receive is deleted and not used, he wrote. When I asked bias if this disclosure has been accepted as earned bounty. The HackerOne closed his report as a duplicate. Wow. Some even took notice of the vanishing online presence after the report of the hijacker libraries picked up steam. Hayden's website, sidepucker.ninja, was archived, stopped working. His bug crowd profiles became inaccessible. The researchers attribute his website going down to running out of bandwidth. It's a free hosting website as a with the daily hit limit, so close any website because of intense interest when asked about the unreachable website. Once again, that seems dubious. He explained today that he was able to take over ownership of the CTX POP after the domain of the original maintainer associated with the package had expired. So once again, you got to keep up on those domain names. Domain name jacking and just picking them up when people don't take care of them is huge in the industry. Researchers use bot to crowd different open source researchers and scrape maintainers' email address to list each of the packages on the registry. Every time the bot came across an email that used a custom domain name that expired, Adrian he would get notified. The CTX package, not touched in years, had originally been published to PYP registry using the maintainer's email address. Bot notified him that the domain is not valid. So if I buy that domain, I can send a forgot password mail and take over the package. And that's quite common. Once again, once it's not valid and you purchase it, you can just send the password and change the password to you because now you own the domain. After registering the non-available domain name and recreating the maintainer's email address, the researcher successfully initiated a password reset on the PYPI for the CTX package. And this way he could log back in a PY maintainer account for the CTX package and publish the altered version. All right, so I think that's one thing the community needs to stay on top. Even though you haven't updated in years, you really need to stay on top of those packages. The hijack of CTX via expired maintainer domain name is also not a novel attack. This is no problem impacting not just open source registry, but virtually any website where users can register an account with a custom domain name email address. Should the domain name and hence the email address expire at a later date, any actor can register the domain name and now log back in as the abandoned account after initiating the password. Moreover, in 21 a 2021 study from Microsoft and North Carolina State. Uh, Researchers found thousands of JavaScript projects on NPM had listed maintainers' email address using an expired domain name, thereby leaving the project vulnerable to a hijack. All right, so this is a known, like I say, a vulnerability. So let's just scroll to the bottom. We got the hint of it. So that's pretty much it. Though this research that Adam claims does not contain any malicious activity, he received over 1,000 environment variables via his web app. The majority of these contain fake data as members on the online community began to flood Hucker endpoint with requests to generate a huge bill for the hijackers, right? So the community was upset, so they start hitting this website so he can get a big bill. So shout out to the community respecting each other. So once again, I think this was a rogue red team guy, a rogue hacker, just trying to do too much, man. When you start taking people's access keys and access IDs out of environment variables on their projects, I think that's a big overstep. Professor Black Ops, please subscribe and watch out for those AWS keys, man. Be safe out here.